Welcome back, everyone, for the second episode of a special double week here on This Is a Revolution. I'm George, joined as always by Mr. Dave the Mark, ready to talk about the second night of the RevPro Weekender. This is RevPro presents the 13th anniversary show. Dave, how are we, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm still riding the high of RevPro's weekend, but also chilling with the fact that there's no show to promote for this weekend. So it's kind of like getting the sleep and the quality time with the kids, having abandoned them all weekend last weekend. So yeah, all good.
Excellent. Absentee
You back at work
father.
tomorrow?
Yeah, I am, mate. I am. I'm not looking forward to going back to work. I mean, my job and my team are all lovely. Like it's a very busy environment I work in, but everyone I work with is really lovely. It's just that I just can't be bothered because I'm quite enjoying the whole not working, getting paid thing.
Mate,
Hey,
it's delightful. I strongly recommend teaching.
oh yeah. Well, they do say those who can't teach, so maybe that's a career for me. So, um, but no, all good, my friend. All good. A little bit tired today. Been out walking in the sunshine and getting those steps in. Yeah, ready to return to normal life. But before we do that, we have a show to talk about. So, a little bit of business before we get into the show. Thank you to everyone so far who's already watched the first episode. If you haven't done so, there's no really right or wrong way around it. But there may be little spoilers that we give just from what's happened on Global Wars. So if you want to go into it spoiler free, go back and watch that one first, then come back and watch this one afterwards. As always, like, share, subscribe on all your favorite platforms. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, and all of these other little ones. I have no idea what they even are, but the Spotify algorithm tells me that they are there. We are worldwide. There is so many different countries that we are going out to now, again, according to Spotify metrics. So if you're one of the people in South Africa listening to us, thank you very much. We've got people in the US, Sweden, Norway. We are international. RevPro
Mate,
worldwide.
I had some lovely interactions with people at the weekend when they came up and were like, "I really like your podcast. Like, thank you very much. Like, it's really helpful for me because I don't get to watch the show like every week." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Like you don't sound like you're from England. Like, where are you from?" And they're like, "I'm from Germany, or I'm from France, I'm from Spain." And you're like, "That's pretty awesome." I put a
That
post
is
up on the RevPro Instagram channel last night of like, people from all over Europe came to the anniversary weekend. When will we see you again? And then I just put a picture up for all the upcoming shows and the date and to remind me. And
yeah.
somebody replied to it saying, "Not just Europe, we came all the way from Chile." I'm like,
Wow,
"That's amazing."
that is incredible. Really incredible. What else is incredible is over the last couple of weeks we have started to grow our following a bit more. So we've had around 11 new subscribers since the anniversary weekend. We've grown by another 4 or 5 Spotify listeners as well, which doesn't sound a lot, I know, but for the level we are, the niche within a niche within a niche, this is massive numbers that we're talking about. So thank you if you're new and you're one of those people. We appreciate you coming on this journey with us. Hopefully we can do enough to keep you sticking around. And what would be really, really helpful as well is if people who, especially Twitter users, would mind engaging with the Cromulent Wrestling accounts. So they are ones that I set up. We weren't sure how we were going to play it at first, but we're going to make a concerted effort to bring those back and actually get some traction going on those. So you'll see Dave and I sharing that a bit more often now. So please do go on there and like those, share the post directly from there. That would be amazing.
And I'll say it every single time. It's not for the benefit of us. It's not clout. We're too old for that shit. It's
Talk for
not
yourself.
a case
Give me all
of
the clout.
trying to get ourselves over and more followers and all that bollocks. It is simply because we want to promote the wrestlers of Revolution Pro Wrestling, promote Rev Pro, get more people through the door at shows. Simply because the more people that go to it, the longer this ride gets to continue, and the more more RevPro anniversary shows we will get, because it's not a given that there will be one every year when you're talking about independent wrestling, right?
Exactly that, mate. Exactly. I'm just sorry. I just got distracted by the monetize button on Spotify and what we need to do to hit that. We're not getting there anytime soon, but that can change if you people like, share, subscribe, do all.
You never
that
know, mate.
stuff.
One day we might get 20p each.
Well, you know what? I would take 20 pence
Yeah,
for doing this. Exactly, mate. Exactly. I mean, you can't. I say you can't even get a Freddo these days. I don't know if you can get. Maybe Freddos are 20p.
I couldn't tell you something you can buy for 20p.
All right, God. Dave
Can you
lives
think
the
of
high
anything
line.
that you can buy for 20p?
Right, I'm gonna Google it. How much is a Freddo? The thing I used to love back in the day, and some of our listeners will be old enough to know this. Some won't. And I don't know if it's even a regional thing, but did you used to have mix bags when you were a kid? Like little peg bags, like 10p mix bags and stuff. Just don't get them anymore. And that
No, mate, I remember the little sweet shop in Coggeshall in Essex where I grew up. Little Norman's, the sweet shop. Last time I was there, it was still there. I don't know if it is. It's been a few years, but like literally, you'd go in and it hadn't changed since the 80s. It was exactly the same shop. He still had VHS behind the counter for $9.99. But you could buy your little penny sweets and you could go in and you could pick and be like, I'll have 3 of those ones and 2 of these and 5 of those. And I used to take the missus there even when we were adults because I'd be like, come on, we're going for a trip down memory lane.
Yeah. God. Right, so I found out, Dave, we're answering the big questions on here. Can you buy a Freddo for 20p? No, you can't. It's now 35p.
I didn't think you would.
So it actually, on Google, it actually refers to the 10p era. The Freddo was 10p for many years after its 90s UK relaunch until 2005. Then in March 2025, the price increased to 35p.
35 pence.
And in some places has hit £1 as well. And one of the questions people have asked is, how much will a Freddo cost in 2030? And it says if Freddo price rises continue to rise at a consistent rate, one will set you back 38p.
Shocking.
This is UK in 2025. 35p Freddos. What is going on? It makes that £7.40 a month for RevProOnDemand.com seem like an absolute steal in comparison.
Absolute bargain. Can't even get McDonald's to that.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm looking at, I mentioned some of the places there: Australia, Germany, the Netherlands, Ukraine, South Africa, Luxembourg, Italy, Portugal, Hungary, Romania, Sweden, Ireland, Israel, and Spain, just to name a few of the countries listening to what we do here. So thank you all very much. It's greatly appreciated. Dave, time to crack on with the show, my friend. We have a packed card to get through. So, setting the scene. I really enjoyed this show. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the night before overall. I enjoyed some bits more than I thought I would. And there were some bits that I think didn't hit the mark in the way it was intending. The biggest issue for me, and I've listened to a really timely episode of the A Squared Circle podcast today. Okay, and I've told you for a few things on that just seems weird coincidental timing, right? Based on conversations we've had, really weird. But this one, Andy Quildan himself talking about it was saying, remember sometimes, he's talking about WWE, he said, remember sometimes some of the things that seem from a fan perspective are not the way that makes sense from a business perspective. And that's something that you don't necessarily consider as fans sometimes. And he's right? We judge this, or I certainly judge this, based on me as a fan and what I need for a show. And one of the things that I feel that this show's taken a lot of heat for is the card. And what I mean by the card is the card not necessarily being announced fully or in a really great deal until even week before the show, right? That is something. And I sat and looked at this on Saturday when I was sitting Weatherspoons, looking at the card, and I said to the wife, I was like, you know what? This is actually a really great card. The main event is a very polarizing main event, or was a very polarizing main event going into it. For the weekend, the level of matches, people involved, it was polarizing across the RevPro fan base. And I think you had two very different subsets of people going into it. But when I looked at that card on Saturday morning, I was thinking, this is actually a really great card. And it's really flown under the radar. And I do think, from a sense of, if we were able to sit with this card for a week longer in its full form, or in the form like this, with maybe adding one or two extra matches on, I honestly don't think it would have received some of the backlash it did, or some of the criticisms it did. But I also feel like this is a card that really delivered. And like I said to you, there was matches. I wasn't expecting this to stack up as well against Global Wars as it did. There were some matches, like I said, that overperformed on where I thought they would hit. And again, I left this one feeling it was a really, really great show. And it's the very, very small details that make me prefer Global Wars to this one. But I will add to that Global Wars is one that I hold on such a high level that coming in second to that is not an indictment. I'm not sitting here saying the show was terrible. Far from it. I thought this was a really, really great show. And
for you, was it the second best show of the year?
I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know is purely because sometimes it's very easy for me to go, right, this is my favourite. I know this is my favourite. And sometimes then ranking the unders, it would definitely be in contention.
I'm assuming it would be a case of, did this top Revolution Rumble or High Stakes or Epic Encounter? Because although all the live-in shows are incredible, like for telling the stories, they're never as stacked as these shows are. They're never quite as premium as these shows are.
Yeah, and if you put me on the spot now, I would say it probably was, but I wouldn't be able to say definitely. The one that jumps out to me, because I think some of the, or at least definitely one of the matches that was a real high for me, was on, and I can't remember, was it Epic Encounters that was in Wolves? Was that the one in Wolverhampton?
Yeah, Epic Encounter was Wolves. Yeah, that was OKU and Manders, Young Guns, and Jay and Mills, Diona and Kanji, Hechicero and Zozaya.
Yeah, which for me was a really, really great show as well. So, look, I think it's in conversation. This one might just edge it, potentially. But look, again, splitting hairs here as to how close it is. So, yes, really great show. How about you? Where does this rank for you?
Okay, so, I mean, for me, it's the show of the year, and I don't think anything will top it. I think that it had, if I look at the 19 matches for 50 quid, if I look at the 19 matches we got over the weekend, this had the match I enjoyed the least on the card. And it had the one segment that I think was, like, didn't work. But it also had it had 3 of the top 5 matches over the weekend. It had my personal moment of the year, my personal match of the year, and 2 other matches which I think were incredible successes, like top level successes. I don't think you're going to get a card like anywhere in wrestling for me. It's not just about independent wrestling. It's not just about British or European wrestling. I genuinely believe I'm not going to watch any wrestling show by any promotion in 2025 where the final 3 matches on the card deliver as highly and make me feel and make me like take in everything that I took in as the final 3 matches on this card.
Yeah.
In terms of, like you said about you would have loved to have had a week to absorb the card more. Like, I can guarantee you now, Andy Crawdon would have loved to have had a week to be able to absorb this card more as well. Yeah. We had, up until the final 3 days, we had 5 of the 9 announced matches. So we knew that we were getting Shire and Ricky. We knew we were getting Leon and OKU. We knew we were getting Zozaya and Zach. So there's your top 3 matches. We also knew that we were getting... what else did we know we were getting? Remind me of the card, mate. Read me through the card and I'll tell you when they got announced.
Yeah, so the card is... I'm just going back up.
Opened with Mercedes, right?
Yeah, it opened with the 6-woman tag match.
Again, I'll throw in there. I don't know for certain, but I believe that was a strategic decision to leave Mercedes unannounced until closest to the time. Mm-hmm. And 100% it worked.
Yeah.
Because if you look in the final 5 days building up to Global Wars, RevPro hit 200,000 new Instagram impressions each day. So literally it bounced like 1.6 to 1.8 to 2 to 2.4, 2.2, 2.4 to 2.6 million.
Yeah.
So that's like, that is literally the Mercedes effect.
Yes.
And Saturday's show was a sellout. I think there were like literally a couple of tickets in the top corners, like effectively the cheapest seats available. And Friday was like, Friday was a bigger sale than High Stakes 2024, which was the previous highest that they'd run in that building.
Yeah.
What was second on the card, mate?
That was Nino and Robbie X.
So we knew Nino and Robbie X was coming. That had been pre-announced.
Yep.
What did we get next?
Great British Tag League Final.
Yep, we knew that was coming. That's the 5th match.
We had Persephone and Emersyn Jayne.
So Persephone and Emersyn Jayne, that was one that was saved for towards the end. I don't know if that was the original plan or not. But it also feels like a match that realistically, that match doesn't change people's minds as to whether or not they're going to come to the show or not. Yeah. That's like decoration on a beautiful cake, isn't it?
CPF and Blue Panther versus Hechicero, Kieron, Lacey, Mark Trew, and Will Kaven.
Yep, and JJ and Yu Amora.
That's right, yeah.
So this is where I would say that, you know, events took place in that final week where matches that had been planned for a long time didn't get to happen.
Yeah.
And that's where the card got kind of that's why some things were last minute. That's why Andy said there'd be 10 matches and there was only 9 on Friday and 10 on Saturday, including one that was completely unannounced and maybe didn't make as much, you know, logical storyline sense as they might have originally planned for that.
Yeah.
And I suppose, like, what I will say is, I think what we got is, it's not just like the best possible result. It's actually, you know, we got a better result than things that were originally planned, because although circumstances changed, Andy is bloody brilliant at making sure that people get value for money. Like, okay, if we can't give you wrestler X, which we had planned for, I'm going to make sure that wrestler Y is of an equal standing to wrestler X, even if I have to delay the announcement for 2 or 3 days. I go back to the Mina Shirakawa, Stephanie Vicaire announcement. I'd written the RevPro anniversary program already. Yeah. I'd written it, I'd sent it to Andy, it was ready to be printed. And he said to me, the day it was going to be printed, he messaged me saying, because I'd written it as Dani Luna was going to face a mystery opponent.
Yeah.
So I contacted Andy and he'd said, mate, we're still in negotiations. Like, it's a slow process. I think you're going to have to write it as a mystery and we're just not going to be able to announce it. And then the day that it was meant to be sent to the printers, he messaged me saying, how quickly can you get me a paragraph? I can tell you that Dani Luna's facing Mina Shirakawa. Like, I've literally just got off the phone with Stardom. God, and you're like, boom, like, I'll do it right now for you. But it's, you know, these aren't anyone that works in a business where you're relying on email responses from people and phone calls back from people knows that communication can be slow.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine that on businesses of the size of AEW and CMLL, and then imagine the time zone problems, then imagine the language barrier problems and all that malarkey. It's a tall order. But start to finish, this show I thought was as well paced as the previous day, except the segment that I don't think worked, which we'll come to. If you take that segment out and actually don't include it, it's perfect. The show's absolutely perfect. And the final 3 matches were so good that I by the time I finished, I couldn't even remember that there was a segment that I wasn't particularly high on, because I was just crying, laughing, smiling, cheering, literally like all the emotions possible. And they even got me with some things that I didn't think were going to happen. Like that Zozaya moment got me like, I knew he was going. We all knew he was going. I didn't realise he was going now. I didn't realise that was it. And when you realise that that's it, like literally, like tears in my eyes. And
well, let's save that for when we get there, because I don't want you blubbering in front of me right now, Dave. So let's start off with the banger at the beginning, right? So we obviously knew.
Mate, can I just say before you start this, I'd not long taken my seat before Francesca came out, because I was just sort of like, just wanted to do one last drink and a wee before I sat down. The queues for the food were massive.
Yeah.
And there were still people coming in the front door. And I sat down next to you and literally was like, fucking hell, can you imagine if they do start with Mercedes? All those people are going to literally just abandon the queues and come and take their seats. That's 100%. Literally what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. We're having that little conversation beforehand, and I said I think this would be the match to start with. And I've said this on either last week's podcast or the one before, that I felt this was the right one to start with. And look, let's be honest, it was most likely given the involvement that Nina and Safire had with Eve that night. But at the same token, like, you could have had this in second or third, given how early this show started compared to how late the other one started. It just really set the tone for the night. Like, if you've got Mercedes, who isn't going to last, put her on first. Have that star power, right? And we're talking about star power here. We are talking about someone who is a champ in AEW, multiple promotions. We are talking about someone in Dani Luna who is working for TNA and has been a champion there as well. We're talking about Alex Windsor, who's in a high-profile featured match for AEW. So these names, they're not the names working along the match that were like maybe a year ago, right? Or even slightly longer for Dani Luna. They are now TNA's Dani Luna, AEW's Alex Windsor, Mercedes Mone.
Like, they're both getting a push in those companies as well, right?
Exactly. Then you've got Mercedes. No, they're not. They are absolutely putting the work in and getting the benefits from it. You've then got Kanji, who is just out there now because people have discovered her from the Mercedes match. She's no longer the best kept secret. Like, people know who Kanji is now. She is basically Mercedes' best friend in RevPro, which is an insane thing to be thinking. You've then got the rest of the Cutthroat Collective as well. Safire, who people will be aware of because of that match. Nina Samuels, who people around the world are well aware of because very well-travelled wrestler who has won multiple championships, was on WWE, NXT UK, like all of these things that people will know her from. So you had that collective starting things off. The match itself, I just thought was just a really great, it was almost like a showcase match. And this kind of came out with a few angles. It just gave us the right energy to start the show with, which I loved. I loved the at the beginning when Dani and Kanji were both holding Mercedes belts as well. Like, I love that. Like, there's so many belts, she has to have her partners help her carry her belts to the ring. I thought that was
just
great.
The piling up of belts.
Yeah,
which Dani did so well, just making a little comedy moment of just, throwing them in.
Yeah, and then we had the match. So I'm not going to talk too much about the match because, look, the match it was just a really great execution of a 6-person tag. These sorts of matches where, again, I've told you, I find it hard to engage with these matches, but everyone was executing what they did to such a high standard. They're all charismatic people, right? They grab your attention. They force your focus onto them. It was just great stuff all around.
It just did what it needed to do, right?
Like, exactly, yeah.
It got a big pop for all the 3 baby faces and then the Cutthroat Collective.
Yes.
It showcased lots of women to an audience where some people won't be familiar with them.
Yeah.
It set the show up, got the ball rolling, got it cooking like on gas because of the fact that it got such a loud reaction from the very off. And then it set up the sort of one big angle at the end and one kind of tease, which it was sort of like,
yeah,
let's do this and then we'll see if it's possible afterwards.
Exactly. I love that. I love the little tease with Dani with the belt, lifting it up, Mercedes giving us shit for it. I thought that was great. And then we were talking about the Cutthroat Collective because obviously the tease has been Safire. And I can't remember when I came to this kind of thinking about it, but I think I said to you a few weeks ago, and we weren't sure if we were going to get Windsor back, right? We thought maybe there's a chance we get her, maybe we don't. But I think I said, wouldn't it be cool if they went with like a Bullet Club style excommunication from the group, right? Like they did with Finn, AJ, Kenny, all of that. Out you go, like kicking your ass out the door. And that's the sort of stuff that I just thought worked really, really well. And I hoped that we would get something like that with Windsor, and we didn't. I was like, okay, maybe it's not to be. And I just kind of felt that the Safire stuff felt like it was a bit too much of a red herring. A lot of people really bought into the fact that they thought this was Hyperactive, right? And that Hyperactive will come into RevPro.
I bought it completely, mate. Hook, line, and sinker.
And look, that could have been the way we were going, but I think the pivot, like playing on that, was like really fun. But to me, didn't make a lot of sense, right? I'm aware that Hyperactive exists, and like most things in RevPro and BritRest, I treat this bubble as its bubble, unless you are someone that has been presented the same way everywhere. So Hyperactive to me doesn't exist and doesn't have a reason to exist in RevPro. I don't buy this person who's kicking the shit out of you in this one company is your best mate everywhere else, right? Like that just doesn't work for me. So we get here, and I think I said to you, I was like, they're going to turn on Alex. And you picked up, you were like, they look like they're circling around her. And I went, I think Nina's going to go for it. And then...
But you know what? The thing that I loved most was even when I'm there, like, I think they're going to go for Windsor. It still at no point looked like it would be the way it went down with... Because it looked, all eyes are on Safire. And Windsor, and it's like, well, they're going to come to blows, and then it'll be a case of what do the other 3 women do? Nina Samuels had like one job in this moment, and that was hit a perfectly executed kick to the head.
Yes.
And she bloody nailed it because it was such a moment of being like real shock. Because even if you'd come to the conclusion that maybe it wasn't going to be Safire that was going to be kicked out the group here, I don't think many people were watching it thinking any minute now Nina's going to kick her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it was perfectly done, really perfectly done. And the thing that I love most about it is the Cutthroat Collective still exists.
Yes,
I know every stable and every tag team is put together to one day fall apart. But actually, I think that's an old cliche. And you look at all of the women that are involved, every single woman, from Nightshade to Windsor to the 4 that have been there from the beginning, they've all benefited from this.
Yeah.
They've made RevPro has benefited from it. Every woman that comes through the RevPro locker room has benefited from it. Because the days of saying that RevPro's women's division is a bit of an afterthought are long gone. And that it all comes back to the start of June last year. And I love the evolution of the Cutthroat Collective, and I'm really excited to see them moving forward. I just hope that at some point they get the Undisputed British Women's Championship, because I think that will be elevating it to the next level, and they can be the dickhead heels that frustrate everyone else.
Yeah, I think we did get to a stage with the Cutthroat Collective where they felt a bit lost and a bit muddled, and no doubt Alex leaving impacted that. They wondered where they might go with it, I think, and they arrived where they are, which is a bit of a reboot of, in some ways, of like just putting them back at a focal point, back at that vicious front again, which I really like because I think that they do work really well together. It's going to be interesting to see what direction they go in. So coming out of here, Portchester Hall, that first show, it's going to be really.
Alexis Falcon being a fifth member.
Yeah, and that's. But then my question is, are we even going to get a fifth member? I think it's better with a fifth member. A lot of things from we've spoken about that before, from a visual perspective, from a like attack mentality, numbers overwhelming. I think it works really well. But I also now love that they've kind of got in canon that the person who replaces this core four, right? Because it is now a core four with someone else who comes in and is part of the group. But now if someone comes into the group, do they recognize that these four people have kicked out two members now? That's going to be a really interesting thing to play on. Or could we see if someone is wrapping up their dates in another company, and that is then going to affect other companies as well, that could change as well. But it's interesting times for me with the Cutthroat Collective going forward. I feel this match, it just got off to a really great start, a really hot start. It teased what's to come next for the women's title. It's teased what's to come next for the Cutthroat Collective. Delivered a big angle to start the show off. Perfect start to the show. Wonderful stuff.
I completely agree, man.
Moves us on nicely to the second match, which was the Undisputed British Cruiserweight title match between Robbie X and Nino Bryant.
The both called a Robbie win, right?
The result shocked me here, Dave. Massively shocked me. I was convinced that this was going to be a Robbie win. I said that it made sense because we knew Robbie was going back out to Mexico at some point, carry that title around. The guy has worked his ass off. Yeah, he's elevated himself to such a high level of consciousness out there with people. As a heel, he seems to have gotten even better. This was even before we knew about AEW going to be using him for 0 Hour.
Yep.
That title on AEW television, albeit the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
they got a nut.
Still 17,000 people as well, isn't it?
You've had the RevPro Undisputed British title on there. You've had Mercedes carrying the Undisputed Women's title, the Cruiserweight title. Like, all of these things led to me thinking Robbie is going to take the title. And he didn't. I was really surprised.
I was with you until a very specific moment.
Okay.
When I changed my mind and thought, no, Nino wins.
Go for it. Tell me.
When Andy did the Grapple podcast, they got talking about NXT UK. Mm-hmm. And they were basically talking about how did RevPro survive NXT UK when other companies didn't. And basically what Andy put it down to was the fact that he tries to future-proof the company by building wrestlers up on like levels. So right now we've got OKU at the top, Jacobs at the top, Leon at the top.
Yeah.
Any minute, any day, all three of them could go. They could all get signed. So he has to have the next batch, which is where you've got Mills, Jay Joshua, JJ Gown. But then you've got to have the batch underneath that, because if they move up to the top of the card, you've got to have the people ready to go into the upper mid card. And he was basically talking about how you can never sit still. You can never look at the fact that you've got enough people. You've always got to be looking to get more people in. And that's where I thought that's yes, on one hand, you could say Robbie's hot property, put the belt on Robbie. Robbie can take that belt places. But on the other hand, giving Nino big wins in front of big crowds from an optics perspective makes Nino get over as a bigger star than he would be had he lost this match. I think Nino will hold the belt until there is someone who can take it from him to set up the next big babyface win. So for me, I'm looking at it as Nino will lose it at some point to Ridgeway, who won't hold it for tremendously long, and it will be Leon that takes it, Leon Cage that takes it from Ridgeway. Or you do the fight for the future too. And that'd be like, you know, babyface versus babyface. Last time in Doncaster, it opened the show and it was two people that many fans wouldn't be familiar with wrestling to basically get themselves over. And then this would be two people that we're now more familiar with, but wrestling for a championship. Look at the journey they've had. So yeah, when I listened to that podcast, I started to think it's Nino. It makes more sense to keep it with Nino, and I was delighted for him. It was a big moment, and it even made even bigger by the fact that Jushin Thunder Liger was there and gave him the belt.
Yeah, that was wonderful for both of the lads. Like, just to have that moment, Jushin Liger coming out, them holding the belt the way they did at the beginning of the match, that big championship feel, right? Like, it reminds me of kind of like what you see late 80s, early 90s, and like the sports photos where they're holding the belt and they're getting ready. Yeah, I love that. I would say that the match exceeded expectations for me as well. I felt that Nino went up a level that I can see the progression in Nino's game, but I did think that Robbie was a few levels above him, and that difference would be noticeable. But credit to Nino, he managed to close that gap, and it was a really fun, entertaining match. So I was expecting to come out of this going, that was a good match. I come out of this initially going, that was a very good match that I didn't expect to hit those highs for me.
I actually think their first match in Sheffield was a better match, but I also feel like that was somewhat inevitable because this was the second match of 10, so it wasn't going to go out there and go 18, 20 minutes.
No, of course.
It fulfilled its role on the card really nicely.
Yeah.
But for anyone who's watching this, listening to this, and wants to see more Nino Bryant or wants to go away and watch that match, like, I strongly recommend it. It was live in Sheffield. I'm not sure which month it was, but Cage Match will show you. Probably April time, I want to say. But yeah, real banger.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I thought it was great. The Jushin Liger element, like you said, was a lot of fun. It was live in Sheffield, February 2025.
February was it?
Yeah, not far off, mate. Not far off.
Nice.
Which was also their second ever singles match. Their first singles match was for Creation Pro Wrestling at the Angel Hotel in Cardiff, Wales, April 2022. How 2022 and Nino Bryant's still only 23 years old. Bloody hell, I'm old. Right, the next match that we followed up with, mate.
At this point, I realised we're very much following a very similar pacing system to the previous night, right?
Yes, yeah, we
Open
are.
it up with a really nice exhibition. Second match presents something that's quite different.
Yeah,
but similarly length, and then go to a longer, serious, higher stakes match.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy this as much as you thought you would?
I did, mate. This was another one of those ones that I think it took a bit longer for me to get into because I felt there was at one stage there was a bit of a weird energy in the crowd that made it a bit hard to vibe off of. I said that I felt that we could leave this being the best tag team match of the year so far. I need to go back and watch my favourite tag team matches of the year so far. But I think, looking at it now, I think minimum it's top 2. but it could well
Well,
be my favorite tag team match of the year. It was fantastic. It was everything I needed it to be.
I think it goes to show quite a lot about my tastes in wrestling, and I always say my top 10 list isn't it's not critical. I'm not Dave Meltzer. I'm Dave Mark. I'm literally just basing it on my little marking out enjoyment. I only have one tag match in the top 10, and that's Young Guns versus Mills and Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a top 20, it would include this match, and it would include GYV versus Young Guns. So for me, they're the top 3 tag matches of the year.
Interesting.
It's like real high standard. It's nuts now because when I'm like, if a match doesn't make it in the top 10, people will probably look at it and be like, "Oh, did you not think that was that good?" And it's like, I did. Like, should we do a top 50? It's like that's we're talking about the 50th best RevPro match this year. It will be better than 90% of British and European wrestling anywhere else on the scene.
Yeah, it's like what they say on social media, isn't it? Where you could go on there and say, "Hey, I really like pancakes," and they go, "Why do you hate waffles?" Like,
yeah,
people immediately think just because something's not in that list that you must not like it. But like you said, we're such a high standard now of what we're getting that for that I can see a world where for me, like I'll go, "That's nuts not to think of it in a top 10," because for me it probably was. But like you said also as well, people got different tastes with their wrestling, right? You can't ever have a truly objective list about a form of entertainment that is 100% biased to what your preferences and what you enjoy are.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like,
and it's personal, isn't it? It's personal because it's how it's like I take no. I'm a big music fan, always have been. Love music. I'm not interested in anyone else's opinion on music because if you think the music I like is good or not, it's literally just your taste. It's how you're hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it, so that's all that matters. It's quite funny actually. On that note, why the kids are getting to a point now where they're starting to like music. You can tell that that they're very like they can tell you what they like and why they like it. And I think my wife's having quite a hard time because Phoebe is so. 1 minute Phoebe will be listening to my wife's music, which is it's happy music. It's whether it's a guy with a guitar, whether it's a pop song, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's happy music. I don't do happy music. I do chilled music or sad music. So when we're like around the house and my daughter will turn around and be like, "This is a great song. What's this?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is Radiohead." She's like, "Oh, I like this." And my wife's like, "Oh, what are you doing to her?" She gets in the car and she's like, "Can we listen to Bicep?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course we can listen to Bicep." Can we listen to The Prodigy? Of course we can. And my wife's like, "What have you done to her?"
I love that. But yeah, it's right. It's like you said, it just makes you feel something, doesn't it? And look, when we talk about this match, that's what I like out of great wrestling. And that's where tag team wrestling for me has always been something that hits that bit harder because you've got twice as much going on. You've got the jeopardy of people coming in and making it all work in a way that doesn't feel telegraphed. And I thought that these guys did a really great job with that. There was a moment where I remember Manders held, I think it was, no, not Manders, sorry, Shire held Mills, and Manders came with just a wicked lariat, started getting the pin, and then Jay came in and got a pile driver to break up the pin. So that was a great spot. We had a spot where Jay just hulked them both up and dropped it down. Like, Shire himself is like no small man to do that with. Never mind adding Manders on that as well. It built really nicely. The energy as we got into it, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember in the moment I could feel that we went into fifth gear, and that electricity around. Like I said, the crowd took a while to get into it, but when as a collective they got into it, holy fuck did they get into it. It was a match where I wanted both teams to win. I wanted 0 teams to lose, and I was just so happy for all of them. It was fantastic.
I love Manders, have done it since the day I met him, and I really like the Cowboys together. but I really wanted Mills and Joshua to win this. I felt like it was the right result.
Yeah, same.
I thought they benefited. Both those guys benefited from it more than Manders and Shire benefiting from it. And I really, really enjoyed it. And it built, like you say, it built perfectly. I really enjoy watching RevPro with little Will Warren next to me, because we literally kind of natter away as we're watching it whilst not taking our eyes off of it. We're studying it, but we'll just like say comments to each other, and I'd literally be sitting there being like, he'd be like, Dave, what gear do you think we're in at the moment? I'd be like, I think we're still in third, mate. I think we're about ready to go into fourth now. And then literally within like 30 seconds, spot, bang, 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 like fourth gear now, mate. We're definitely in fourth now. Let's give it a few minutes of fourth, and then let's see if they can take it to fifth. Yeah. And it was expertly done. Like, there are matches which are designed to build the crowd up from the very beginning, like literally pop the crowd and keep them there at the start. There are matches designed to bring a crowd down from a big moment and prepare them for the next moment. And there are matches designed to build and build and build to a crescendo. And that's exactly what this match did.
And just one thing to add to it as well, on Twitter, Manders, see you in November. I think 2026, I stay forever.
Yeah, oh, please do, my friend. Please
don't tease me with a good time, Manders. Oh, the man that when I said he is the one I officially have, that I posted on Twitter, I said, this is the man I officially have the most pictures with. The one wrestler I have, like, I think every single time I've seen him, I've got a picture with him. And he said, keep it that way, you bastard. Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know how likable a man he is, and can't wait to have him back. Next match, Dave, Persephone versus Emersyn Jayne. I thought this was a really good match. This is one where I got to notice a bit more about the skill level of Persephone. I feel that she had an opponent that was a better, just a higher level of what she could accomplish in ring, and just felt that bit more, what's the right words I'm looking for here, just felt that bit tighter with everything she did, that bit more, I don't know,
Emersyn Jayne had a higher ceiling.
That's it.
Than the Alexis Falcon match could have had.
Yeah,
Emersyn
Jayne works on a higher level.
Emersyn Jayne and Alexis Falcon, but more the story they were telling, and the fact that Alexis was trying to avoid wrestling Persephone, and Emersyn just wanted to embrace wrestling her. Yeah, completely understand what you mean.
Yeah, I thought this was very good. Not a lot I could go into in terms of analysis, because it was just an exhibition match between two really good wrestlers. This is again where I got to see how Persephone plays up the big personality, and she was doing that against a fighting opponent. It was another one where I was like, was this where Emersyn gets her win back, or does Persephone get the win? Emersyn lost again, but again, she doesn't lose anything. She got beat by the number one woman.
I'd say she's one of the biggest winners of the whole weekend.
Yeah, so CMLL, the big name there, the representative of the weekend from CMLL, and AEW's top wrestler, not named Will Ospreay, potentially in Mercedes.
And again, if there are people listening thinking, "Oh, I think it was they made the wrong decision. Emersyn should have beaten her." It's not RevPro's decision, right? It's a collaborative decision, and ultimately, it's like if you're at work and you're coming to a decision together with someone who's more senior in the position than you are.
Yeah.
If they disagree with you, sometimes you just have to bite your tongue and go with it.
Exactly.
And when CMLL and or AEW and or New Japan want to go in a particular direction, there's an element of RevPro having to go along with it. Or turning around and saying, well, in that case, no, thank you. We won't book that match. We'll put on a different match. Yeah. But I think I'd rather see that match and Emersyn Jayne lose than Emersyn Jayne versus another British wrestler who, respectfully, I could watch anywhere, any week. That could be, Emersyn could wrestle any wrestler in Britain, at Portchester Hall next week in front of 250, 300 people.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. Not much more to add. I just thought it was fun.
No,
it was
I
good,
really enjoyed
and
it, and I don't want the fact that it was quite short analysis to make it seem like we didn't enjoy it.
no,
It's just it did everything it needed to do, and
exactly.
it got
Yeah,
Emersyn Jayne further over.
yeah,
Persephone looked even more comfortable and really
she
at
really
home.
did.
And I left the weekend really hoping we get to see her again at future
So
RevPro
did I.
shows. Job done.
Yeah, exactly. So next match, Dave, was the 8-man. I keep wanting to say 6-man, but it wasn't. It was 8-man tag team match.
Was this before the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, sorry, no. I can't remember, but should we talk about the Hall of Fame now? Or you know what?
Yeah, I can't remember when the Hall of Fame segments were.
I can't, but shall we?
But
I
felt
about
again,
as a whole?
I felt like they were really well timed.
Yeah.
They broke the show up perfectly, and I thought they were going to do Curtis Chapman and James Stacey at the same time. But they didn't. They separated them. So you had the Mad Kurt first, and then you had James Castle later. And I really liked that because it meant that both of them felt equally like they were equally as significant moments for the families and for the friends and for the fans, and that they weren't like one didn't feel like an afterthought to the other.
Exactly. Yeah. I
really thought they were. Mate. I thought they were done fantastically, and I would like to see more inductions to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I think it would be a nice thing to do at each anniversary year moving forward.
Yeah,
especially if any time they want to do a 9-match card without an interval, I think an inductee to the Hall of Fame would be excellent.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not quite as simple as that because you need to have that person there to do it.
Yeah.
Which might be difficult. And you don't want to spam people with them and it just be like, it just suddenly get absolutely full. But 1 or 2 people each year, I think, is perfect.
If we were looking at next year now, who would be your pick that you'd? Because I think you'd if we did a one-dayer, right? Like if we're imagining it's going to be a one-day, and be where we're introducing or trying to bring in either an international talent or someone from the UK. Who would you be picking?
Hiroshi Tanahashi. With him retiring next year.
Yeah.
Someone who has been a part of RevPro for the last 10 years. Undisputed British Heavyweight Champion. RevPro and New Japan's relationship has been built on the relationship they have with their top guys. And obviously, since he took over as president of New Japan, directly with Tanahashi, things like Global Wars and Royal Quest all come about from the relationship between Andy Quildan and Rocky Romero and Andy Quildan and the board of New Japan. So I think he would be perfect for next year. In terms of a British talent, he won't like me saying it, but Gideon Gray. Absolutely Gideon Gray should be in the RevPro Hall of Fame. An unbelievably technically gifted wrestler who has been there since day one and has such a huge influence behind the scenes that people don't see through the Portsmouth School of Wrestling and just being a great mind for other people. You never hear anyone say a bad word about Gideon.
Yeah.
I feel like Gideon's in-ring career is very much I'm not sure if he knows what he wants to do in terms of it coming to an official end. He told me in my 5-minute peek behind the curtain with him that he wants his last ever match to be against Isaac Murray. He said to me before that his generation's kind of left the scene now, and obviously, Kurt and Jamie Stacey were immensely close to him, and to lose them both so quickly. that has probably heavily influenced that.
Of course.
He got his moment with Rob Lyas at Summer Sizzle last year, where they wrestled the match in memory of James Castle. And he still wrestles the Contenders shows. I was at the thing that I was most gutted about, that the Contenders show that I was going to couldn't run. It wasn't about seeing GYV, but it wasn't about seeing the young guys I've never seen before. That they were both absolute bonuses. It was a chance to see Gideon again in the ring. Like, I miss him tremendously. To the point where I'm 100% will be at a Contender show between now and the end of the year. There's one in October, there's one in December, both the nights before Southampton. So I'm going to do the exact weekend I was going to do before, get a hotel, go and see a mate who's a chef in Southampton, and go to his restaurant and have him cook for me, and like, you know, nice stuff like that. And then go to the show and go for beers afterwards. Like, nice weekend out of it.
Nice.
But yeah, for me, Gideon and Tanahashi.
Yeah, I think depending on, I would agree with. Look, I agree with both of those. I think that both of those are worthy. If I'm looking at it and thinking next year what could be done in terms of, it would very much depend on contracts and whether someone was available. AJ Styles is someone whose contract status has been named as being potentially up at some point next year. If that one becomes available, take the opportunity and induct AJ into the Hall of Fame. That would be wonderful. Again, he doesn't have to wrestle. He could just come in, get inducted into the Hall of Fame. I know people would want to see him wrestle, but with the age that AJ's at now, I think he's 48.
Give somebody a Styles clash.
Yeah, exactly.
Give Will Kaven a Styles clash.
Yeah, have Will Kaven come out, try to attack. Leon comes out, helps AJ. He is Styles clash. You can rerun something like that. If the injury...
Gutted that I didn't get to see him and Balor last night.
Yeah, I bet you are,
mate.
That
would have been worth the trip to Birmingham for Raw.
Yeah.
I played the dynamic pricing game and I lost.
You didn't win, mate.
The prices went down to about 90 quid. And I was like, no, still too much for me to, not after the weekend I've had. Like, they can go lower. They didn't. They shot right back up because it basically sold out.
Yeah. My two matches I saw of his were like one after the other in the space of 4 or 5 months. It was him versus Liger at Reading Leisure Centre, him versus Chris Jericho at Cowboy Stadium at WrestleMania, within about 5 minutes of each other. Such a
him and Zack Sabre Jr. one of the best RevPro matches ever.
I can imagine.
Like, if you don't have RevPro on demand and you do have a spare £7.40, like, it is worth it just to go and watch some of the incredible matches that have happened. Like, seriously, just flick through Cage Match. Anything from like sort of 2015 up until today, it's just nuts.
Yeah. And then my other induction, it looks like he's going to be going in for some surgery. Will Ospreay, the guy, I know he's still an active wrestler. I know he could come back and wrestle in RevPro at some point. And normally you want to do it when a wrestler's retired, but fuck it. Like, what that guy's gone on to achieve, stick him in now. Give him his flowers now. And again, if he's the great thing, and I use this term I loosely, touch wood, all of that. If he is injured, you can bring him in without having the expectation of, well, why can't he have a match? Right? You can just bring him in to have his moment. And if he does have to get surgery, if he is going to be recovering from that, reports that I'm hearing are about a year, maybe even slightly longer.
Really?
And look, we don't know how much of that is him playing up to it, right, as well, because he wouldn't have been in the match on Sunday if he wasn't able to do it. But by the same token, he might still need, it sounds like he does still need surgery, and people are saying this type of surgery. So we talk about
an injury where it's been on the cards for a little while.
Supposed neck injury.
It's like now's a good time to write him off of TV, go away and have the surgery. It's not like an emergency surgery, is it?
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly. Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful put it the right way. He said if it was kind of the same neck fusion that Edge needed, where he'd be pulled straight away. But it was a case of, right, let's do it. But yeah, from what people are saying, they reckon it could be around a year for this to be sorted, maybe even slightly longer. So going into tail end of 2026 minimum. So yeah, that's who I would bring in. Those would be my two. Right. Anyway, moving on to the next couple of matches. I'm going really super light touch on these days because I'm looking at the time, seeing that we've got about just over half an hour, and we've got 3 big matches in a row at the tail end, and one that we're probably going to touch a little bit more on before those. So the 8-man tag team match, CPF and Blue Panther with Hechicero, Trew and Lacey and Will Kaven, and both the...
Great fun.
Yeah. I thought it was great fun. I loved the masks on CPF.
Yes.
I loved the boiler suit on Blue Panther. I thought that was really fun. I loved the little reveal at the end, like just checking who were under the masks. I loved the dissension between Hechicero and the rest of the team.
Mate, I like literally, I don't know if you noticed, but Mark Trew was calling him a mug in his entrance.
Was he? I didn't notice that.
Nudging Kaven and Lacey and being like, he's a mug, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like pointing at the armband, which obviously we could all see.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought I don't need to say anything else to it, mate, to be honest, other than the fact that it was the perfect match to put on the middle of the card to bring you down a little bit.
Yeah.
To get you ready for the big matches to come, but also bringing you down in terms of that kind of excitement and drama, but giving you something that you can just enjoy. Like it was a great piece of business. I thought this.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, I just thought, like you said, everything was just fun. And look, after the year that all of these guys have had in various ways, it was just a nice way to get them all on the card as well.
100%, yeah. And I mean, you've got to believe that the whatever match that didn't occur on the Friday night, there's some noticeable absences from this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can imagine that it would have been a match to include all of those people.
Yeah, exactly. Next one up, Yuya Uemura defeats JJ Gale. Can't really add much more than I did on yesterday's pod. Just, again, a really fun showcase match. I thought JJ looked really good in there against Uemura. I liked that they teased the potential dissension again with JJ and David Francisco. I loved it at the end of the match. JJ seemed really pissed as well. Like it just added a little bit extra into that fire there and gave us we're going to see David turn on JJ moment, because again we know it's all coming at some point. So yeah, again,
I think this one could have gone up a gear. I think there was a higher gear that they could have reached with the time that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that they needed to get to 5th gear, but I feel like it finished in 3rd when it could have finished in 4th.
I have a feeling that, much like you said about the match before, designed to bring down, I felt like this was designed to stabilize, with the idea that what was to come next would lift people up.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And also, I can never understate how difficult it must be for 2 workers to work who have never met each other before, who don't speak the same language, where one person is a full-time member of a locker room and one person's just here for the weekend. Like the boys could have gone out thinking we're going to have a bang match here, and then come back being like, we didn't quite make it there. But everything with the best intentions, and like I say, it was a good match. It was a good match. I just don't think it was a great match.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly fair and perfectly fine to say. Right, the next match. So, Sunshine Machine then come out, and we were discussing this. Yeah, I thought the promo was great. We were discussing this beforehand, and I think you were convinced Sunshine Machine weren't even coming. I think at one point, I think it was you that said that. You were convinced.
Well, the fact that that we ended up with 9, not 10 matches the previous night made me think that we would finish with 9, not 10 this night, because like I say, there were lots of people not on the card.
Yeah.
And so it felt like it was too many people for one match to be one that couldn't come together at the last minute, and that therefore it was one on each. And then when Sunshine Machine did come out, you're then sort of like, oh, okay, we're going to do something with the Trent Seven storyline. I don't know if you've seen, but Trent Seven wasn't going to be there because he was having a baby.
So somebody, I forget who it was, I was speaking to someone at the end of the show, and they said, and we were talking about this segment, and they said, they said, we spoke to Trent in Sheffield and asked him if he's going to be at the anniversary. And he said he didn't know if he was going to be there because of it. And I was like, okay, this makes... Because if we take the microcosm of what we as fans have access to, and I'm not saying for a second that we should have access to personal life, right? I'm just saying what we have access to, what is presented to us, probably the better phrase of saying. Everything led us to think... we were getting Trent versus Sunshine Machine here, right? That's what it felt like we were getting. So when they said about a team, any team in the back, and then so the promo itself, I thought was really good. I liked that it was Mambo that delivered a lot of it as well.
Loved the sycophant line from Mambo. Thought that was excellent.
I thought it was great, yeah.
TK is just so undeniably good on the mic. Like,
yeah. But
he's doing the believes his own shit heel work so well.
Yeah, and it did feel like he was living up to the Messiah name a little bit as well. He just got down on his knees and just got out like that, the iconography behind it and all of that. But they very, very quickly, and I think again it was either me and Will or me and you, but we discussed afterwards, and I said very quickly they glossed over the fact that Trent wasn't there. Like, it wasn't given a chance to breathe. It was very quickly, like, it was all...
I didn't even notice him sort of mention his name.
Yeah.
And it went right over my head. And
then they were like, what team back there can be? It's just like, okay. So, again, as we said, everything that's presented to us as fans that we should have access to, we go, what's going to happen here then?
But you thought that they'd somehow managed to work something that they could use to elevate.
That was my initial, yeah.
I thought Speedball Mike Bailey. So you've got you're going back to the old British strong style tag team that then went into WWE. Yeah. I'm going to TNA for Speedball Mountain.
Yeah. And
Leo Rush and Action Andretti were the furthest names from my thought process.
I could have tried guessing 100 times, mate, and I wouldn't have got those. And
that's not their fault. But I think when we got Athena on Friday, someone we've never seen before, Ring of Honor champion, like that was significant.
Expectations were set.
Yeah, Leo Rush and Action Andretti, we're spoiled with Leo. We're so spoiled with him. So when him coming out, it's literally spoiled by our own riches that you're not like, oh my god, it's Leo Rush. It's like, oh wicked, Leo's back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Action Andretti in the politest way possible. He doesn't have that star power yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not at that stage of his career yet. That's something that you'd imagine is, they're building. And I just didn't get the match.
So
I quite liked the finish, which I know was really controversial. I quite liked Sunshine Machine just being like, fuck it, and walking off.
I think it was.
Why did they wait 12 minutes?
Yeah, I think it was a clever finish for what undoubtedly would have been a booking nightmare. Because we discussed this, right? And you're talking about if we can't get this, what can we get? And probably the wiggle room and negotiations that start to happen at that point until you present it with a mutually acceptable arrangement between both companies. Yeah. So you're right that we are. Part of it was we're so spoiled by Leo that if Leo Rush was announced this by himself, we'd probably be like, hell yeah, like this is great. Yeah. Or if Leo and Action Andretti were announced as part of the 8-man tag or something like that.
No disrespect to you, Uemura, But if we'd been announced Lio Rush versus JJ Gal, I would have been more excited for that.
Okay, yeah. So we've got like that side of things. Here's what I will say about Hechicero Andretti and Lio Rush, right? Watching that match, so I will say, as a team on AEW, when I have watched them, they've never really grabbed me, okay? And I always say about this, there's some wrestlers that find their ceiling. And sometimes their ceiling that they hit really high on an independent level, they sometimes just, the ceiling is much lower when you're watching them on the grand stage. But one of the things that's always struck me about them is that the style of wrestling that they do, they are so dialed into it, right? They are so good at it, right? I'm not saying that they are like the greatest at their style, but they are very quick moving guys, right? They're always on the go with something. And very rarely did I see either of them put a step wrong. So I have to give them credit for that. That even if for me, Hechicero Andretti is a guy that he doesn't have, he's not as charismatic as Lio is. Even if he's trying to, and he's trying his hardest to be, but he's just not. So when you kind of got that working against you, you need the in-ring to work well. And this, to me, what this felt like is if these guys were announced for the Great British Tag League, and this was a Great British Tag League match in Southampton, in Sheffield, at the Portchester Hall, had to catch myself for a minute there. This would have been really good. I think would have been like, okay, this is a good induction. Oh, sorry, for the inclusion for the Tag League. Here, answering the Open Challenge when we were set. I'm not saying that we go, well, Athena's our benchmark, but on the biggest weekend of the year where you are being presented with a Trent storyline, which looked like it was going to be somewhat significant. Whether that was Tyler Bate, whether that was Speedball, whether that was people then going, well, maybe he hasn't got Bate, but we can transition that to Pete Dunne, who we knew was available for at least appearances at Riot Cap the night before. You then start to, and this is where as fans we sometimes maybe get too into our own heads and go, this is what we expect, and expectations didn't meet what we were looking for, right? What I found really...
I think, though, this could have been a perfectly well done segment. I think I've got how I personally would have done it with the four men that we've got involved and the storyline we're telling with Sunshine Machine. You have Lio and Action come out. They got a reaction from the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You have them go in. You literally have Lio roll. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but they play heels in Ring of Honor and AEW, right?
Yeah, they do.
So it's not against their presentation in those companies for Lio to roll TK up and pull the tights. Really, really obviously, almost like so we were exposing TK's bum to the crowd, pulling the tights. Because then it just adds to the world is against me crisis that TK's going on for all his future promos. With, we couldn't even get a match on the anniversary card. We had to come out there and get one ourselves. And even then, the stupid referee can't see the fact that we've been cheated out of a victory. It's not fair. And TK goes down on all that route again. Because my other kind of criticism of it is the fact that this show went long. It was scheduled to finish for 9 o'clock. It went north of 9 o'clock. And this segment didn't feel like it added tremendously to the show.
No.
But it could have done had it just been fun. The
fun
thing
and
was
short.
Just fun. It was quick in terms of the match. The promo afterwards was a little bit longer. But Lio and Action weren't selling anything.
Yeah.
They weren't promoting anything. They were just there to get a pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it for me. Like, it's, if we had the power of hindsight, we could go back and we could be like, right, we've got the whole weekend. What do we keep the same and what do we change? This is literally the only change I would make to the entire weekend. Like, the 19 matches would be, keep this match. Let's just make it a squash like literally not squash, the story I just told, because it fuels TK Cooper's complex. It gives him more to moan about. It gets him and Chuck on the card. It gets Leo and Action Andretti the top. Job done. On to the next one.
What I will say is, like I said, I'm with you that to go for as long as they did and get that finish felt like a bit of a dud. Like, it's close to a dud in that sense. And that feels really rude to say that about what the guys were doing in the ring. It just felt that's such a long match. So long. And it did bring me down. It did knock the pacing of the show completely for me at that point. And in a way that the night before didn't. But what I'm going to say here in favour of Sunshine Machine is obviously they clearly wanted to do something to put these guys on the card because of just, again, what they've been doing, the work they've been doing over the year, right? Had to find a use for them. So I love this. You're getting the machine. I thought that was really good.
Honestly, the promo was spot on.
But also, we had one anniversary show where these guys weren't used. We had one anniversary show where, even if they weren't for me last time, they were in one of the big emotional beats of the show. The fact that this year they were able to put them in there and put them in such a big moment without a build-up, like without a graphic, without a build-up, showed me what faith Andy has in them as an act, as they are now, because you could have saved that for a Portchester Hall when Trent is back in a few weeks' time, potentially, if it's not bearing in mind like other things going on or other people being needed and whatnot. But to go, no, we're still going to put them on there, we're still going to give them that moment, I think that just shows the level of respect and where they've earned that spot. So yeah, this wasn't for me in any way, shape, or form once the bell rang, because it was just too long. But fair play to that beginning bit. I'm interested to see where they go. Right, we're on to the last three matches now of the card, and
all three of which are in my top 10 of the year.
Yeah, so Zack Sabre Jr. and Zozaya was a fucking masterclass. It was just...
Was it 30 minutes long?
Just shy of 30 minutes. So
that has to be one of the longest RevPro matches I've ever seen. Like, sort of like top 10 longest matches I've seen from RevPro. Mm-hmm. I didn't feel it for a second.
Yeah.
I can't believe it went 30 minutes.
Yeah, so that one went 30 minutes. OKU and Leon went 30 minutes. And Shire and Ricky went 25.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was just locked in from the moment this match started to the moment Shire and Ricky finished.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I think about, I've been very, very fortunate to see as many Zack Sabre Jr. matches as I've been able to see live. I don't know where this ranks in terms of the top matches. It's right up there. But when you think about the fact that you're talking about his match with Ospreay at Royal Quest, the match he had with Jordan Breaks that was just a technical masterpiece.
Yeah.
His match with OKU at Revolution Rumble 23, which was just so story-driven, and his match with Leon Slater, which was like a real kind of coming-out party for Leon, because up until that point, Leon was this amazing high flyer, and his match with Zack was the match where everyone got to see, like, holy shit, he can do so much more than just be, like, the Spot Fest guy.
Yeah.
This match with Zozaya is like right up there with those four.
And I can see why.
And the match itself was incredible. The final sort of 5 to 8 minutes were really, really like on the edge of your seat stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Zack leaving the ring and Andy and everybody coming out and saying goodbye to Zozaya, like genuinely had me like teared up in the crowd. Like that's special, isn't it?
That moment, yeah. So look, I think one of the things I said last time about this was that no one truly expected Zozaya to win, right? And that's fine because this match was never about jeopardy, right? This match was about going out there and putting like the art of wrestling and just going out there and putting on the best. And it was almost like Zozaya was just trying to endure Zack for as long as he could to show just what great technical wrestling can be. And then it did get to the stage where you kind of were made to think, could he? And that goes into the logical side of your brain when you're fans like us who know how the business works, know that Zack's walking in as IWGP champion, right? He's not going to lose the match. But
mate, there were some moments I bit on, and I probably bit on them because New Japan do book their champions to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Not often. So I said yesterday, Jay wasn't going to beat Ishii because Ishii's champion. But we know that Zozaya impressed Tanahashi last year. Yes, we know that he went for the WWE trial. We've heard that it went very well. There's nothing been absolutely concrete, has there, that says he is 100% signed to them?
Fightful reported it back in May.
Yeah, and it's like that. I mean, Fightful are very reliable. They are very reliable. But anyone, it's nothing out of WWE has come out. Nothing from Zozaya has come out. So you're like, I still have that moment of doubt. And then I'm like, is he going to do some work in New Japan? Mm-hmm. Literally just enough to give me that little bit of jeopardy. It only has to be a little bit, because that's what you then, and afterwards you think, oh, how silly of me. Like, of course he's going to WWE. Fightful don't get things wrong. If he was going to New Japan, that would have been talked about. New Japan wouldn't book their champion to lose in England. They'd book him to lose in Japan, so that the Japanese fans know the context, blah, blah, blah. But in that moment, you forget all that rationality, and you just focus on the, oh my God, he's just hit his big move. He's going to pin him. This is going to be the end of the match. Oh no, he kicked out at 2.9. Just, that's the emotional investment, isn't it?
Yeah. It was wonderful. No notes. It was just everything they set out to be, art. And that moment afterwards when you saw everyone coming down. And that was the moment for me that when we get onto the main event, I would say made me... So I told you I was 50-50 going into that. Okay, that was one of the few matches I was 50-50. This could go either way. And as we were getting into the show and they did the angle on Friday, I was leaning more onto Ricky. And then they did this. And I think I said to you, at one point, I turned to you and said, I think SHA's winning. Because they've just done the leaving angle. Right? It's a very different thing, I know. But they just did that big angle with Zozaya that I went, huh. Are they going to try and do that twice in the same... They absolutely could have done, right?
I was 99%, genuinely 99% certain that we were saying goodbye to SHA.
And RevPro tries not to lean into tropes too much. So the trope there is that, well, we had this once, we can't have it again, right? But it just made me think. I thought it was all really well done. Just everyone around the ring, slapping the mat. Yeah, wonderful. It was what the lad deserved.
Built perfectly, right? From the pacing of the match, especially a 30-minute match, has to be spot on, and I really felt like it was.
Yeah, and when we think about this lad and his time in RevPro, he has spent about a year in RevPro because it was April last year, but what we also need to remember is for the first 3 months,
for the first 3 months, this year, right?
Yeah, we didn't get him into Epic Encounter, which was practically 4 months by that point. So yeah, we've had him for about a year, maybe if you want to be really picky with it, just under. And what he has achieved, that body of work in that time period is sensational. Yeah, unbelievable. Good luck to the lad wherever he goes next. And I've said this, he's one of those guys, I don't see how he fits into that system, but I honestly don't care because he is just so likable, So wonderful to everyone and so talented. Also, it was so fun. If you haven't seen the Speedball Mike Daily vlog, go and watch it, because he talks about like RevPro Day, and you see him go over and he's talking about who he's facing, and like he knows he's got Zozaya's name, and then he forgets who Zozaya is, in terms of forgets his name, and then Zozaya actually appears on the vlog, and you just see like him, Oku, and Speedball together, and just like this guy just fits in perfectly with everyone. Like, yeah,
I've not seen it. I'll watch it after this.
Such a lovely lad. I'm so happy for him. Right. Moving on to the semi-main event. Leon Slater versus Michael Oku.
Was it better than their high-stakes match for you?
I think so.
I felt like it was significantly better for me.
I loved the first one, and I loved this one. So I think they're probably much closer together, but much closer together on a really high level, rather than one being here and one being there. I'm
conscious of the fact that I said I thought this was much better, but why that I didn't think the first one was great.
No, I know. Yeah, I know the level you hold out on.
So yeah, I just feel like this one, and it's funny because that one had the stakes and this one didn't. Now, for me, normally, there's no way this one can be up there with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes to show just how well they delivered it. I loved everything about the story. I loved Cameron Kai being included with Liam Slater.
Yeah.
I loved how Cameron presented himself with the tank top. Like, just he looked different. He looked like he'd literally just come from training, right? Like you realise how big the lad is in terms of his physical frame when he's wearing something like that. I liked the interactions between Amira and Liam Slater. The in-ring was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, the two of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
And no hyperbole in that whatsoever. Two of the best wrestlers in the world. Putting on a match which I think you can only achieve when you've got two top-level wrestlers who are comfortable with each other, prepared to take risks because they trust each other, and who have got the chemistry where you really believe that there is some real, like a real disliking, not a hatred, but a real disliking and disrespect from Leon towards Oku, and Oku a disliking of Leon. It was just perfect. And the jeopardy for me, the stakes for me was, for me, Leon had to win this match. The story, everything about the story was Leon winning, but Super Cena, Michael Oku, finds a way to win every time, and that's not a criticism, because I can't think of a match. I can't think of a single match I've ever watched Michael Oku in where I thought, oh no, the wrong guy won that. Oku shouldn't have won. The other guy should have gone over. Literally not one match in. I'm getting close to 100 Michael Oku matches now, which is insane. Had he won this one, it would have been the first time. But he didn't. So the story that I wanted is the one that was told. And so when Leon won, I had a moment of real kind of like satisfaction, because I felt like it was an important decision, and I felt like they got the important decision right, which sounds so patronizing and stupid because Andy Clauden obviously is the booker and it's his story, and I'm just picking up on what he puts down. But, you know, often we talk about moments in wrestling, don't we, where we say, you know, should Asuka have beaten Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania that year? Should Samoa Joe have beaten AJ Styles in one of their many matches for the WWE Championship? Was John Moxley the right person to have win the AEW Championship after CM Punk left? Like all these things that we can talk about.
Yeah.
This wasn't that, because they nailed it.
No, I think you're 100% correct. And I'm glad you said what you said there, actually. Because at first, when you said there was no stakes, I was like, I completely disagreed with that. And then when you actually explained where the jeopardy then came in for you, that's what I meant by stakes as well. That Michael Oku is literally a gatekeeper for Leon.
Yeah.
Right. He's literally keeping that gate shut and going, you are not welcome into the top here. What I also loved is
he's
Leon.
the guy, right? He's Roman Reigns. He's John Cena.
He is, but he's Roman Reigns and John Cena. And actually, no, I'm going to say something different. So that's where he sees himself. But for Leon, this guy is Finn Balor, NXT, Samoa Joe, NXT. And he's on main roster because he is in TNA. He is making history in TNA. He is hanging out with AJ Styles. He is the third Hardy Boy. He has got all of that, right? So he should be able to then rise to the top of RevPro. But he's got Michael Oku there, who Michael Oku is the guy, the Super Cena, Super Oku, Roman Reigns, that sort of thing. And Leon's like, why can't I put him away? Because I'm at this level. And I'm not saying that in a way of him putting down RevPro or looking at it, but he's just achieving such big things that the British Heavyweight Championship should be the next big thing. Everything he set out to achieve, he is achieving.
And it's that perfect blurring the lines between kayfabe and shoot, right?
Absolutely. And now the one thing that he's trying to achieve is taking that title. And Oku has that experience edge over him in terms of just age, experience at that level of having championship match, all of that sort of stuff culminating into that. I thought they did a really good job with the guys on the outside of the mirror. I thought we were going to get a repeat of Oku taking the mirror out. Obviously, that was where it went, and then it didn't, which I thought was great. And the fact that they did that then made me go, could Oku win here again? Which I think...
Yep, exactly for me.
Yeah, so they shifted that dynamic where I was convinced it was going to be Leon. And then when they went with Leon, I was like, yes, that was the right decision. Because I think you could have done the Jacobs Ishii route, okay, of having so close, then get the win. But I think the time is now, no pun intended, to have done that, got that win for Leon, and now you can move him forward. I thought it was superb storytelling throughout. I loved it. It did not feel like it went on for half an hour.
No, not at all. I knew Zozaya and Zach was half an hour because I'd read it, but I didn't know this was half an hour until you just said it, and that really surprised me. It didn't feel it at all. No,
I think it went on for 31 minutes in total, something like that. I think it was the longest match of the night, which again,
it didn't change a minute of it.
It didn't feel like the longest match of the night. Not when that tag match existed. That felt longer than this one. This was just locked in, dialed in.
Yeah, exactly. It is the difference between you being taken out of the moment and you being absolutely in the moment, isn't it?
Then we got onto the main event. So we're going to change up how we're going to do things, right? So we've been quite collaborative about how we've been discussing matches and going back and forth. I am going to tell you what I thought.
Okay.
And I'm just going to give you a time for a monologue. Because this match could not be more Dave the Mark coded in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Than any other match, right?
Literally a love letter.
A love letter to you.
Love letter to me.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it, and I'm just going to let you talk, and the floor is yours, and then we're going to end it at that point because there will be nothing else I'll be able to add to it, and I feel it deserves that. So I was hypercritical of this match being announced as the main event. I felt like as much as I love SHA the guy, and I feel that he deserves everything, right? And I do. I feel he deserves everything. Like, he's such a nice fella, so give him with everything. Like, no one has a bad word to say about him. The presentation of him in RevPro to that point was not at the level to be seen as one of the main guys. So many people, in terms of how they're presented, have surpassed SHA. Okay? So to then retcon him into that role of going over all these people and being paired with all these people, I know people see this unfairly when I said it was the Jinder Mahal treatment. What I mean by that is it was like, oh, suddenly we're going with this. Now we need to get him up to this level, right? it felt like a real rush job there. Now we'll see what happens when Shire gets given things to work with. Right, he is great. Ricky Knight Jr. is someone that I've also been really hypercritical of this year, in the sense that I felt that he has just not been consistent in the ring. I felt that at times there was stuff where I was just like, that doesn't work very well. A lot of stuff with Ricky I found since High Stakes 2024. Again, I said this the other day, that was the last time truly I was locked in on everything Ricky did in RevPro. I'll add that because I still think his match with Jacob's Strong Style 16 last year was superb. So I was nervous about this match being the closer of the weekend. I will say up front, I didn't think it deserved to be, based on everything around it. I felt that based on what we had on this card already, Michael Oku and Leon Slater should have main evented, right? So I'm being fully upfront with all that beforehand. It's not going to be the cool thing to do. Ricky Knight Jr. deserves his fucking flowers for this, because what that lad did that night was nothing short of, like, he did everything possible to get every inch of heat out of the crowd without it going into questionable realms, okay? Because what I mean by that is he could have said stuff that makes you get cheap heat. He didn't necessarily go for cheap heat. Some of it was easy heat to go for because he knew he could get that heat quite easily. And that's not a bad thing. And the way the match kind of devolved and how it went, his interactions with the crowd, the bumps he took, that fucking bump down the steps, right? We were standing there going, someone's going down there, but you didn't truly believe it until you saw him going down. He took the dive from Shire off of the side steps. He did all of that, everything, and then Shire got the win at the end as well. In a bit, I think even at that point where I convinced myself that Shire had a chance, and even throughout, inside my head I was going, what if he did win here? What if he wins? But still doubting it a little bit. Shire also put the work in as well, so I don't want this to sound like I'm saying that this was all great because of Ricky, because it wasn't. It takes two to tango. And Shire did a really great job here. Like, he knew this was his moment. He eked out every bit of emotion he could. I don't think either of them put a step wrong. Like, the match that they went out to have, I still don't think this was as good as the match before, because I wasn't locked into the emotion of it probably as much as you were, and I know other people were. But this far exceeded my wildest expectations. I was expecting to come on here going, it wasn't bad, it was inconsistent at times, and times I got bored. None of that. I think they knew the challenge they had to go out and beat that match for them. And while for me it didn't beat it, it was still such a really high standards that I would say it earned, in hindsight, it earned the right to be called the main event. Over to you, my friend.
I think everything you've just said there, mate, is very, very fair. I don't think, always say this, I love working with you, mate, because all of your takes are good faith takes. And there's no, you don't criticise baselessly. You give fair and honest feedback, and I like that immensely. So it had a very, very tough spot, because not only was Oku and Leon outstanding, but so was Zozaya and Zach. And as we've said, even though we didn't feel it, they were both long. The match itself, I feel like the fact that they took it immediately to the outside and around the arena was inspired, because it drew the crowd in immediately, and it meant it started with heat. And I feel like it was the only match of the entire weekend to start hot and stay hot. And even then, it got hotter and hotter and hotter. And when everybody started banging their feet and you felt the roar of the crowd, I had a real kind of like emotional moment, because it was just like, yes, they're getting it. People get what I'm getting from this match. And that made me happy. And I tell you what, I've had so many messages the last couple of days from people just saying, I loved that match as much as you did. And that's really, really lovely. I want to go further. Ricky Knight Jr. held the belt for 1 month. Not even a full month when you actually look at the number of days. I think he did more with the belt than Luke Jacobs was able to do in the 4 months that Luke Jacobs held the belt. Even though he lost his first defense of it, he made that story so much more than Michael Oku could have done. Oku and SHA is not the same as Ricky and SHA, and they obviously knew that. That's why they changed it. Ricky he's outstanding at making you feel like anything is possible with him. That he will take any risk. That he will cross any line. That he will do something vile and detestable. And it genuinely creates this feeling of, I want to say discomfort, but in a good way. In a way that people that like watching horror films or people that like watching thrillers, you know you're going to feel uncomfortable, but you embrace it. That's what Ricky brought to the table. SHA told a story that was so real. Like, from the chat at the bar with the pint with Dave Bradshaw, to the chat outside Sheffield Network with Andy Quilden, to him talking in the ring, to him even like embracing the fact that he's like, yeah, I've genuinely booked my summer holiday with my kids, and I'm going to make this part of the story. Everything he did added to the fact that I genuinely thought this was the final dance. It was by far the best SHA Samuels match I've ever seen. A lot of wrestlers bleed. We saw Luke Jacobs bleed this weekend. Who else bled? Maybe just Luke. Maybe I'm forgetting someone. But it's not unusual to see wrestlers in RevPro bleed. SHA bled. And it wasn't just for the shock value. It was literally him giving everything. Blood, sweat, and tears. The detail of the promo that went out Sunday morning, him and Oscar, the only regret is I think they should have shown that before the match.
Yeah, I would agree, because, sorry, I know I was going to let you speak and you actually reminded me of this. The amount of people I could hear around me, one, chastising Oscar, because why are you just letting this happen? And then people go, well, it's a no DQ match. People go, is it? Go, well, it must be. So I think that was a bit of a miss. Not having that on the screen before the match, I think, is a bit of a miss. Okay, anyway, back to you.
But it was, I did not see the finish coming. The finish, I thought, was executed perfectly. SHA had hit everything. He'd hit the Destroyer. He'd hit the Spinebuster. He'd hit the Moonsault. So at that stage, you're like, SHA hasn't got any big move left. Is SHA going to introduce a new finisher? Because I don't think SHA has an out-and-out finishing move that, like, if Leon Slater's going to win, he's going to win by doing the Swanton 450. If Michael Oku's going to win. He's going to do it with the half crab, or he's going to do it with a trio of frog specialists. If RKJ is going to win, Kishi driver. SHA doesn't have like that one killer move. So even after he'd hit all three, there's a part of you that's like maybe he's got something left up his sleeve. I just didn't believe it. Didn't believe it would happen because Ricky felt like he still had more in the tank. The kick out at one from the Kishi driver. Now, I'll be honest, that's the sort of thing that I would sometimes be like, didn't like that. But I did like it here because SHA is giving everything to this match. Everything. And if you've ever been in a real confrontation with someone, you are capable in that moment of things you never thought you were capable of. You are capable of hitting way harder than you ever thought you could, or surviving way more than you ever thought you could. And when everything's on the line, if you are like fighting to save something, there is just an element of like sheer like will and determination and front. And even that kicking out at one was like the biggest act of defiance from SHA, but it still had an element of fragility to it, where it was like, yes, you've kicked out at one SHA, but if he does that again, I don't believe you can kick out at all. Like, I believe that was your final throw of the dice. And he beat him on a roll-up, which on paper sounds so lame, but it was so good. Jaw-dropping. Like, I filmed my reaction to it, which probably looks contrived, but my jaw had dropped and was dropped for so long that I had the kind of wariness to kind of think, I should film this for my vlog, because my jaw wasn't coming back up. And literally everybody around us was the same, right? And the eruption was so genuine. Anyone who didn't think that this could main event the card, I think it must be in a position now to put their hands up and say, yep, I was wrong. 1,500 people bloody loved it. Do all of those people have to think that it was a better match than Leon versus Oku? No. You can like whichever match you liked. One could have headlined, the other one could have headlined, but this proved that it deserved to be a headlining match. It was a clear success. And he always talks about the only metrics that he can really measure are what he sees and hears in the room that he's in and the video on demand numbers. Well, I heard Crystal Palace erupt for this match. And the video on demand numbers are not going to tell you anything about this match because they're skewed by Mercedes Mone and Hiroshi Tanahashi and the like. So the one metric is the fact that everybody seemed to react how they wanted them to react for it. What happens next? I've got no idea. I literally have no idea. Like, Charles Samuels and Leon Slater feels like the way forward. But to me, Shaw could hold the title for a week. He could lose it at Portchester Hall. Or he could run all the way through to next year's anniversary and headline again. Who knows? But it will never take away that moment. And I did a post, which I think kind of summed it up quite well, that started watching wrestling in 1993, watched it like religiously for 10 years, and then went away, lost the love of it, came back like 10 years ago, and watched it kind of casually until I discovered RevPro and fell in love with it. Nothing has ever made me have an emotional reaction to a wrestling match, any wrestling match, than that match. And that is what every wrestler should be going out to try and achieve. Wrestlers shouldn't be putting a program together thinking, you know, oh, this will generate hits on social media because that we'll be able to give this particular spot and it will go viral. That's not what it's all about. That's important. It's important in getting your name out there. You know, I'm sure Leon Cage massively benefited from his his finishing move going viral. But what wrestlers really want is to be able to say that they made an emotional reaction within the fan base. And that's exactly what they achieved. And there might be people sitting there listening to this saying, well, that's what you felt. But obviously it wasn't the same for George. But it was the same for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're never going to catch everybody. You don't need to catch everybody because different matches can catch different people. But to finish a great weekend of wrestling on that big high, the bloody SHA Samuels holding up the Undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, like the underdog story, the old dog that had one more race in him. Like, it's a romantic story that is the sort of shit I absolutely live for, mate. So I could not have been happier.
And one of the things you said there, Dave, is what happens next. And look, we've got a show in a couple of weeks' time. We've got an episode coming out next week where some of these questions might be asked. But for now, that was a perfect way to sum up, my friend. What a fucking fantastic weekend of wrestling at its best it has been. Catch you next time, my friend.